They're focusing on the close range meta, especially since they've made a ton of weapon tuning recently and the overall change to Rebirth to match Caldera. Now we have a close range meta that applies to both game modes. There's a lot of weapons you can use solos, there's a lot of weapons you can use in duos, but once you start getting into trios and quads, this kind of ends up changing the decision making because sometimes you have to decide, do I reload because I have the option or do I plate? In some of the cases, like the Type 100, they might not give you that opportunity. It's like if you have the 30-ish bullets, you're down to 7, you have to reload. You don't have an option. Versus something like the Bullfrog or the Bison, you might go, oh, you know what? I still got 40 left in reserve. A 100% plating. And so it's going to come down to your play style, what mode you like to choose, and how common these particular engagements will happen. Because obviously, if you're a little bit more of a passive player, the odds of you worrying about a trio all at once a little bit lower. Versus if you're a little bit more of an aggressive player, you're probably going to run into that more often. So you kind of got to pick and choose what makes the most sense to you. Before we get into the loadouts, we do have a quick sponsored segment, which we'll do now. Today's video is brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook, and we're getting very close to crowning a new NBA champion. And as part of that, DraftKings Sportsbook is putting all new customers in the center of the action. Just by only betting $5 on any of the teams, you're rewarded with $150 in free bets instantly, and it's as simple as that. On top of that, DraftKings Sportsbook customers are also able to bet on the NBA in same-game parlays, and this is where you combine multiple bets on the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs in the bet, the bigger the payout can be. And in case you happen to live in a state where DraftKings Sportsbook is not available yet, DraftKings hosts a huge daily fantasy contest every day of the playoffs, giving away millions per week. So you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today using promo code JGOD. Bet $5 on any pro basketball team, and you'll be awarded with $150 of free bets instantly. Again, that's promo code JGOD at DraftKings Sportsbook. Welcome back. So one of the main things that we'll focus on and talk about is it's pretty obvious that they want the Vanguard weapons to be the meta weapons or the most used weapons within Warzone. It's gradually happened over time. We saw the same thing when it went from Verdansk to Verdansk 84 with Cold War. Everything really shifted over to the Cold War weapons, and we've seen this happen again with the Caldera transformation, where most or vast majority of the weapons being used are Vanguard weapons. The floor loot, everything included, comes up to Vanguard. That being said, that will be the case today, but I thought I'd include a couple Cold War and Modern Warfare options if you have those weapons and you really want viable options. Maybe not as competitive as some of the other ones, but it will give you options if you prefer those weapons and already have them leveled. So first up, we got the Lapa and the OTS. In the case of the Lapa, this one's a pretty good all-around gun. I think it's best suited for solos, duos, and trios. Quads, it can get a little sketch where you got to decide to put the plate in. But to be honest, there's not a lot of weapons that really fit that quads mentality where you just have a surplus of bullets, other than maybe the Owen gun, the Bullfrog, the Bison, and maybe a handful of other ones. But we got the Lapa in here with the agency rifled Microflex LED because it has bad iron sights. We got Raider stock and 50 round drum or mag that you want to call it there. OTS. This used to be the GOAT in terms of mobility, but it's gotten nerfed quite a bit. Still very good in terms of TTK, even with the changes. But after about 8 to 10 meters, it does get a little bit harder to use in terms of the TTK department against some of the Vanguard options. So we got GRU, Task Force, Skeletal, Serpent, and then the Fast Mag. If you want a little bit faster strafe speed, you could drop the Serpent and then go ahead and put on the Tiger Team Spotlight, which will help with that strafe speed. So there's your Cold War options. We do have some Modern Warfare options. Unfortunately, it kind of comes down to the AUG and the CX-9. A lot of people have been gassing this one up for a while. The big problem with these guns is the mobility is so bad on them. In comparison, they worked at one time ago, but now everything shifted towards movement. You're kind of a sitting duck when you're doing this, so you have to be super accurate. Pre-aim, even though the aim down sights are pretty good, you can really be in a bad spot where it's super easy target to hit. So for the CX-9, we're going to be rocking this barrel, which makes it so you can't use a muzzle and gives you integrated suppressor. The CX-38S tac laser commando, 50 round drum, CX-9 tac grip, which is kind of a stippled grip. And then we also have the AUG, which there are a couple variations of this one. You can do lightweight suppressor or no suppressor, and then you can get sleight of hand in a 30 round mag. So you got a couple different options here, but tac laser, the ultralight, hollow, and stippled, and this just allows it to compete because overall the TTK is very good and tons of damage per mag because you're using those 5.56 rounds. Still use the SMG ammo regardless of the bullet type, and that brings us into the top 3 or so loadouts. And we're going to see a couple builds on here twice because the Type 100 is pretty versatile, but you'll go ahead and see this. So we have a Type 100, which is more of a rapid fire, a little bit higher skill build, and then we have a Strafe build, which we'll get into, and then we have the MP40, which is still one of the most versatile guns, super easy to use. Pretty much everyone has it unlocked, so they continue to use it. But I promise you, pretty much every other gun on this list is better than the MP40. It's just there because a lot of people still like to use it and want to have a decent class for it. So MP40, recoil booster, short barrel, slate reflector, folding with brace, quick, granular, 45 round mag, lengthen, and hand stop. The damage per mag has gotten a little bit more sketch in general compared to some other options, but it's kind of one of those things you got to deal with it, get to cover, reload, and you're good to go. When it comes to the Type 100, this is going to be more of the rapid fire build, a little bit higher skill level to use this weapon just because the recoil can get out of hand, but the range is super forgiving. The TTK is broken. When you get into a 1v1, you're hitting your shots. You are winning that 1v1 against pretty much everything except for a shotgun. So we got recoil booster, the rapid barrel, slate reflector, the skeletal stock, sleight of hand, quick, hatch grip, 36 round, mag, subsonic, and compact. And we're using sleight of hand because we're only using 36 mag, and this does give you a very quick reload, right? It just goes and it just sucks that some weapons do not have the sleight of hand option to make it so that it's a little bit even across the board, because there's certain weapons where it's just like, damn, I really wish, like on the Blixen, I wish it really had a sleight of hand. And we'll get to this next one, which is the Strafe Type 100 along with the Welgun. Overall, I think the Welgun's good. I think even with, if you go with 40 ammo, it's good. 48, 60, there's tons of combinations you can use with the Welgun. And overall, this kind of gives a blend of all of that while still allowing you to have good TTKs. And then the Strafe build is the TTK is not off the charts, but again, we're focusing on mobility to strafe speed to make it a little bit harder for you to be hit. And that's what we're looking at here. So Welgun is recoil, going short, slate reflector, move stock, acrobatic quick, pine tar, 48 mag, hollow point, and hand stop. And then we're going to go ahead and go with the Strafe build, which is recoil, the light barrel, slate reflector, the folding grip, sleight of hand still because of the smaller mag, grooved grip, subsonic, and then compact, which kind of been this one has way less recoil, but this will help with that strafe speed going there. And then that's going to bring us to the meta chaser builds, which the Blixen, the day it got added, I said, this is going to be meta as soon as they get this sprint to fire fix. And that's what we're looking at here. Then we have the Armaguerra, and there's a couple different builds on the Armaguerra. It seems like it really comes down to where your shot placements are, because if you land chest or head or wherever, usually most good players are aiming for the center chest. And if they get a couple headshots, cool. But most aren't aiming for the head just because it's such a smaller target to hit. Your accuracy trade-off, but that's a whole other story. Unless you're sniping, headshots are a little bit trickier. So we got the Armaguerra. Both of these have decent mobility, good TTKs. I think the Blixen has a significantly better TTK in general. It's just super easy. Damage per mag, solid. We'll go ahead and get into that. So Armaguerra, we got recoil booster, the precision. A lot of people seem to like this Bati 315 CII. Just kind of, it depends on the preference. Personally, I've used a little bit of both, and I think it gets a little tricky because this increases the headshot damage, but you're offsetting this with subsonic, or you could even go hollow point for the trade-off. It seems like we've gone kind of more the meta slowly shifting towards, okay, suppression is again important, and we want to focus on strafe speed. So it's kind of like, depends on where you want to fit in. There's a lot of great options. And the problem with 10 attachments is you can literally build it slightly different depending on how you want to build it. So to account for that body damage, we're increasing with vital, slate reflector, skeletal, quick, and grooved. And the groove's going to help with just the aim walking. And then because this thing doesn't have a lot of recoil, it should be very easy to use. Then we have the Blixen, which you can do recoil booster custom. I'll give you a second build as well. Slate reflector, remove stock, steady, quick, grooved to 36 with a hollow point because of the damage change they made with SG compact. Or you can go with this RMK, still go the 36 or the 54 round. this is where it gets a little tricky because the 54 round is going to be a little bit more versatile and less punishing, especially in those situations that we talked about with the specific mode you play. And that's the build. If you liked it, hit the like button. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.